Hello and welcome back to the Brit Iron Podcast. Today we are incredibly excited to bring you our Week 1 preview episode. We've waited a long time for football to come back.
Oh, it's back, baby.
Many days of waiting, and it's finally here this week. Let's go.
Yeah,
of course.
That pause is required. We don't want to get any breaking of the rules on YouTube or anything. We're a show for everyone of all ages,
family friendly.
But having said that, let's go.
We can just put a beep in there somehow, just so we get the feel for it. But of course, if you couldn't tell by now as well, joined by Matt and Sam as ever, and of course they, as you can probably tell, they can share my excitement for this season to start.
Just can't wait to get going.
It's been a long wait. It's felt forever.
Too long. I think that extra month without pre-season, usually pre-season, because you get that hype of first week pre-season, and you're like, yeah, football's back. Yeah. And then it's just pre-season, and you stop caring after like literally the first 4 plays. But you're kind of warmed up for the season. This year's kind of special in the sense that it's just like you get that football's back, and it's gonna be 4 quarters of the ones going at it and just hitting each other and playing ball. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. I think it's just sometimes even pre-season, just seeing the scores there on Twitter, seeing things being spoken about, it's football.
Yeah.
But it's felt forever. Buzzing for it,
honestly. And I think of when we release this, it'll be the exact day of the first game of the season, right?
So on UK time in the morning before the games.
Oh God, I can't wait. I know I booked the day off work the next day, so I can.
Yep, got it booked off today. Got the confirmation through. So I'll
be at work.
There's always one. But I'll give you a quick rundown of what today's episode is going to look like. We'll start with the news. Then we're going to run through every single game of this week, all 16 matchups. And then we will go for the head-to-head section where we'll pit Matt and Sam against each other, as we always do, to see who'll come out on top in a little game of trivia, a little pub quiz.
It's going to be me.
Little pub quiz. Sam, you are 4-1 down, I believe it is now.
He's clawed one back last week. He's on the comeback trail.
As a famous man once told Batman, why do we fall over? So we can pick ourselves back up again. I want to fight back.
I think the issue you might have is that you're still falling at this point. So
still pick myself back up.
I'll wait to see that. Looking forward to it. But anyway, right into the news, and we'll kick it off with a bit of news close to Matt's heart for sure. Indeed, That's a few additions to the Buccaneers organisation. Obviously, Leonard Founette is now in that running back room for Tampa. Yes. And also Josh Rosen, who's a bit of a journeyman, even though he's only 3 years into his NFL career, has signed to the Buccaneers practice squad as well. Now, this running back room is pretty stacked already. There's a few names in there.
Yeah, I think and it's sort of what the coaching staff have been saying now. They feel they've got a guy for every kind of role they need. I think obviously they're still running with the motto that Rojo is their guy, and for week 1 he certainly will be. I think the depth charts came out today. Fournette is on at number 3. They're on the depth chart, but I mean he hasn't practiced with us yet. I think tomorrow, Tuesday, he's cleared all his COVID testing. First time he can get out there on the field and practice. So I imagine this will change. I expect Fournette to win out the job eventually. I think from maybe sort of you'll start to see him come in a bit more sort of week 2, but become the goal line guy off the bat. Rojo will get, I reckon, the main carries for the first couple of weeks, as long as he comes out and does what everyone expects in week 1. If he has a few fumbles, misses a few pass blocks, you could see this happen quicker. If he comes out and plays lights out, Arians will run with the hot hand. And then you've got LaShawn McCoy there as well, who's going to fit in as just the third down guy, the passing guy for Brady. So I think it's a great pickup. I think if we're in win now, $3.5 million. I think if he hit all the bonuses that are in the deal as well, I'm loving that as a deal for us. I think it really does commit to the whole win now. We're here to really go for it in this window with Brady. I think it just speaks to the magnitude as well of just sort of the enigma of Tom Brady. The types of players that we've got now for this year, Fournette being one of them, last season would not have happened. It's purely guys wanting to come in and play with Brady and make something happen with him. So, I mean, I was happy when I saw this come out. Yeah, it was like I could see it. I was slightly annoyed. Got Rojo in our dynasty, but luckily traded for Fournette the day before because I don't know, I was a little bit suspicious and I just had a feeling. I'd seen the rumours and I was like, if he went to the Bucs and I'd lost a starting guy for me in Rojo and also didn't have a big Bucs name, I would have been upset. So I was happy, got on both.
Yeah, I think this move for me doesn't actually make the Bucs a better team. I don't think it makes them a worse team. It obviously don't think it takes away from LaShawn McCoy at all, because LaShawn McCoy is going to, as Matt said, kind of be locked in to be their third down back. Takes away from Rojo a bit, because I think it puts a bit more pressure on Rojo to deliver now, because I think if by half time of week 1, game 1, if Rojo isn't coming out of the gates going, Arians is a very much kind of what have you done for me lately guy, and he won't be afraid to put Fournette in, and he'll give Fournette the chance. And if Fournette gets the chance, he is a player who does have the talent and ability to run with it, especially if he's running behind a better offensive line and he's got a better quarterback and a better weapons than he's had since he's been in the NFL. I mean, if in Jacksonville for a while, everyone knew Fournette was getting the ball on first and second down. Pretty easy to scheme against that when you can just stick 7 or 8 men in the box, and then suddenly everyone's like, well, Fournette's only getting 3 yards a carry. It's like, yeah, but he's running against stacked boxes every time. Who's he got on the perimeter? Now he's got Tom Brady at quarterback and 2 of the best receivers in the league either side of him. You can't just stack the box every play. No. So I think Fournette will have his opportunity to work into the role, and I actually do think that he might well win out this job, and maybe even this season kind of be one of those dark horse, maybe like, I don't want to say comeback player of the year, because it's not like he had a real fall from grace. I mean, he's still getting a lot of yards, but he could be a real surprise to a lot of people. And as for Josh Rosen signing to the Bucs practice squad, it's where he needs to be. He needs a lot of practice. So
I found this interesting because I think the day before this came out, me and Sam were chatting about it and sort of what was going on with Rosen, because I think it came out that he was being released. And I said that I would love him at the Bucs, because as much as everything Brady's bringing, there isn't a long-term plan beyond that. And if we're hoping to be as successful as we should be, we're not going to be in the position to maybe draft one of the big-name guys when sort of Brady leaves. And I thought that for Josh Rosen, if he's going to come in and learn anywhere, he knows Byron Leftwich from his time in the Cardinals when he came out in the draft. Sit behind Brady, and obviously he doesn't even need to suit up on game day. He's just in the practice squad, so just sit there and learn from him, absorb from him. And especially with what we've actually got behind Brady, I don't see any reason why as we get throughout the season, if he's showing enough on the practice field, he comes in and becomes our third stringer, because we're carrying 3 quarterbacks into the season. And I mean, Ryan Griffin seems to have been around the Bucs for ages, so everybody had to come in and do everything, sort of in terms of on game day. So if Rosen's showing the right thing, it looks like the more likely guy to potentially take over, or just a potential option to see how he develops. Who knows? Because I mean, this is a completely different opportunity to anything we've seen Rosen in.
Yeah.
If he got a chance, if he'd come out in the draft and been in the situation of the Bucs, it would have been a better situation than anywhere he's been yet, weapons-wise.
Granted,
so I think I'm not going to rule him out. And I've said this even before, I think in our Dolphins preview, I'm not counting him out as a guy who can potentially do a job yet. I don't think we've seen enough. I think everyone's too quick to rule out quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks. Hardest position to come in and adapt to, I'd say. And we can say almost within half a season of games of seeing someone, no, he's not got it, he's done, get him out of here. Which in some cases, guys, it's a bit of a lost cause, but I don't know. I think there could still be something here. There was a lot of hype when he came out.
Granted, I agree, he will get he's obviously going to get an opportunity to play on their practice squad and to train. He won't be suiting up on game days, which I think could really hurt him, just because there will be those occasions, especially if they're the team that everyone thinks they're going to be. Being Tom Brady's backup, you might get some meaningful snaps in a game, because you're up by 25 points and they put the backups in and you get a chance to go out there. We saw it from Jarrett Stidham last year when he walked on and threw a pick six on his second NFL play, and that might hurt. And the fact, I think it actually speaks volumes to the fact that they picked him up and just slapped him straight on the practice squad. Now maybe he gets moved up and activated onto the roster, and maybe we get to see him, but I don't think we'll see. I think it's unlikely that we would see much from Rosen this year, and I would worry that if he doesn't kind of get onto a field soon, that the NFL would kind of pass him by and he would miss his boat. Now, I may be wrong, But at some point, that first round tender will lose its value, and people will just start to go, look, you just haven't done it. We know that you've been in bad situations, but there are plenty of quarterbacks that have been in bad situations and shown enough in the right times at the right places to get a job. And Rosen, at this moment, hasn't.
No, I wouldn't want him as well, even getting near the team. Even if you say times where Brady gets pulled out, I wouldn't want Rosen going near a field this year. He's there to learn and develop, and I don't think it wouldn't do him any good to get 10 garbage time snaps. I think this year practice got the whole way. Potentially, if it was a way to keep him around, if we liked what we'd seen on the practice field, bring him in as the third string, and only if you really had to, but just purely to keep him around the organisation. Because Bruce Arians is a guy that I think is trusted on what he thinks of quarterbacks around the league. He's known as a quarterback guy. If he was making all the right noises about him, it could get other teams circling, especially if he's a guy on a practice squad, depending on situations elsewhere, of people looking to do the same thing. So that's all I'm thinking is the only situation is if they like what they see enough to bring him in just to keep him.
Yeah.
But I think I would much rather see him practice squad the whole year and then see what we've got next off season, kind of go from there.
Yeah, it does look like a good deal for both parties involved, though, to be honest with you. So hopefully, hope for the best for him. But I guess we'll just have to see how that one develops in there. But moving on to the next and the final news piece, and this surrounds the surprise cut of Adrian Peterson from the Washington football team. Now, he has signed to the Detroit Lions. I believe it's a 1-year deal worth about $1.05 million. So it's a small deal, but he's an older guy.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? What do you think when you saw that cut news? That was quite a shock.
I mean, I understand it. If you're the Washington team, and the Washington team, they're trying to completely reset that culture, right? Given everything that's going on in the world at the moment with COVID and all the social kind of injustice things that are going on, and I think one of the things that I really like that what the Washington team is doing is they're embracing all of this. They're turning round, and it obviously all the terrible things that supposedly happened there over the last decades kind of came out, and the Washington football team turned round and they appointed a new business development manager who actually had an interview on the Pat McAfee show last week or the week before, I believe, and that was a really great interview. Anyone listening, I'd really recommend going and listening to it, because you got like a really interesting view on how he was kind of saying, look, we're resetting the culture, and it's all of this horrible stuff, that regime, those people, we're clearing out of the building and we're bringing new people in from the top down. If you were in the kitchens and you were involved in that, you're gone, as all the way up to the top. And they're kind of resetting this culture, and I understand that along with that, maybe you're kind of, in a football sense as well, they're resetting. They've got a young quarterback. They've got a lot of young running backs. Adrian Peterson might not necessarily fit into that, and they like what they've seen with Antonio Gibson. And from all accounts, I've heard that Bryce Love is actually quite impressed during this training camp, and he's a really talented young player who, again, not paying much money. Doesn't make sense necessarily to carry an aging running back. Then you flip it over to the Detroit Lions, and I like the pickup because I think Adrian Peterson is still a good player. However, it's the age-old story in Detroit now of who's the running back going to be. I feel really bad for Kerryon Johnson because he's such a talented player who he's similar to Kenyon Drake while he was in Miami, just doesn't seem to get given the opportunity to be the guy, even though I think he's really talented and he's good enough to be the guy. I think he got a bit unlucky last season when he looked like he was going to get the chance, and then he injured himself. But, I mean, you've now got 3 guys there who are all going to get carries, so it's going to be tricky to figure out who the main guy is going to be, but, I mean, Detroit's stacked at running back, in my opinion, now.
Yeah, 100%. I think the news that came out alongside it is Bo Scarborough has been put, I think, on IR list, which makes a little bit more sense of them maybe wanting to keep 3 guys around. DeAndre Swift, they haven't really given too much, is dealing with some kind of knee issue as well. Don't know how serious it is. I think it's nothing too mad. It's just something I read earlier today, was doing the rounds, and that to me is probably the main reason we've seen this. is if they're not certain that their rookie, who we don't know yet as well, how he's necessarily adapting. So I think you bring in an experienced guy to come in who I think is going to probably get an immediate workload. He's going to be really competing for snaps. So I think, because even with Washington, he's come out and said he was training, taking reps with the first stringers up until the day before he suddenly got told, sorry, you're gone. So this, to me, it's almost... I'd love to know, maybe see some stats on the carries and who with and sort of where those three backs, or at some points 4 backs, were fitting in Washington, to where this came from. That if he went from literally one day with the first stringers pretty much consistently through camp to suddenly you cut.
I get the feeling that kind of conversation will have gone down as, look, we love Gibson, we like what we've got with Bryce Love, and Adrian Peterson is still a great back. If Adrian Peterson is here, it's like me and Matt were talking the other day, and I was kind of breaking down how I thought that backfield was going to look, and I kind of said, look, I reckon Adrian Peterson might get 50% of the snaps here, which means you're then breaking up the other 50% between Gibson and Bryce Love, and I reckon Bryce Love might get 20 or 30.
Don't forget Peyton Barber. He's going to steal carries in that one as well. He's around. And the fact is they've kept him over Adrian Peterson.
But I think the reason they keep him is because Peyton Barber wouldn't be as expectant, and you wouldn't feel like you should be giving Pete... Like, if you've got Adrian Peterson on the sideline and you're not putting him on the field, there would be an element of, hang on, why are we carrying this guy and not playing him because he is that good? As a lot of coaches would be happy having Peyton Barber there as the third string. He's the relief back, and he's there if one of our guys goes down, and he can fill in a role for a bit. Like, you don't expect him to be your lead guy. No, but I think they want to give those carries to Bryce Love and Gibson especially, and they probably let him go just because they thought, look, we're going to be holding a legend back who could potentially crack on to be top 3 all-time rushing. We're not going to want to use him. We might even feel a little bit guilty because he should be being used. So let's just cut our losses. We'll give the snaps to the other 2, and we'll run with the young guys.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, if I'm honest. Good way to wrap up the news as well there, Sam. But
it's my speciality, mate.
Well, certainly is. But the moment we've all been waiting for.
Finally here.
Go.
The week 1 preview part of the podcast.
There is going to be some hot debates in this. I can already tell there's going to be a few games where I know. Just from knowing me and Sam, really. I know we're going to disagree.
I just cannot wait. I've been looking forward to this all day to just get in and talk about some football that is happening soon.
Soon.
3 days. So,
literally.
James, just kick us off, mate.
Right, okay. This is a good time to kick us off with the first game of the 2020 NFL season. The Week 1 matchup on Thursday night. I believe it kicks off about 1:20 in the morning, UK time.
Yep.
I'll be so awake at that point. So, the Texans against the Chiefs. Now, this is a rematch of last year's AFC divisional round game.
Certainly is.
How excited are we to see this matchup once again? Sam?
I cannot wait. And I tell you what a game to start the season with. Not only is this the opening game, you've got the Super Bowl champions returning, you've got a freshly paid Deshaun Watson coming in who's going to be really wanting to prove that he's worth $39 million a year. This is one of those potentials for maybe this could be an AFC Championship matchup. Like, for all we know, the Texans could be that good, and Deshaun Watson, I'm not putting anything past him. No. I'm going to come out and I'm going to make a really bold statement at this point. I think this could be a potential upset for the week.
Ooh.
I think the Texans could beat the Chiefs here. A healthy Texans team, depending on how well they come out and how good they look, if that Chiefs defense isn't up to par yet, because I think that's a defense that will take time to get rolling and grow into it. They're more of an offensive team anyway. We saw it last year that they didn't start off great as a defense. If the Texans can come out pounding and Deshaun Watson can get on a roll, Deshaun Watson is one of the few quarterbacks in the league that I think on his day can go toe-to-toe with Mahomes.
Oh, undoubtedly. I'd say that he's up there. He's in that conversation. He's shown that. Was it 24-0 at one point in that divisional round game? He's shown he can come out and light up this Chiefs team.
Exactly.
The big thing I'm interested in, especially with this Texans offense, is this is going to be a very new look Texans offense. As much as you've got Deshaun Watson, That wide receiver room has just completely changed now that obviously with Hopkins leaving. So now you've got Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, Kenny Stills, maybe even here and there, Kiki QT has shown he can do a little bit. He won't get as much now with the setup, but still, 5 names that could all be getting the ball. It's going to be a new thing to defend against. You kind of know what you're getting with the Chiefs up to this point, as much as it is very hard to stop. You at least know a little bit.
Yeah.
Texans got an advantage because you don't. And the other conversation is at running back. Because suddenly you've got 2 backs who have got equally as much to prove, but from different angles.
Yep.
David Johnson is almost his comeback journey. He's got to show he can stay healthy and show that he can perform how he used to. Because the pressure on him, obviously being as part of that Hopkins trade, massive.
Yeah.
Then Edwards-Helaire, he's been given the keys, sort of thing, if you call it. He's got to come in now and show that he can be that running back 1 in that Chiefs team. He got drafted there because Pat Mahomes wanted him there. Ahead of some other backs that in the draft he wasn't predicted to be. I think he was the first back off the board, I believe.
He was that, yep.
And he wasn't necessarily predicted to be that. There was talk of it. But 2 guys that have got a lot to show, and I think whichever of them can get off quickest in that offense. If one of them has a dud night and doesn't quite adjust in quick enough, without preseason especially, that could really swing this game.
Yeah. No, I think
so.
The Texans are definitely up against it because, I mean, the point you mentioned, which it kind of is probably the best and most important point in this game, and for a lot of teams, is player retention. This is a whole new Texans offense, a lot of new pieces, and the Chiefs somehow using wizardry or
some conspiracy.
Oh, here it is again.
There it is again.
But somehow they have managed to. But they've got like a 90% player retention or something from their Super Bowl winning team. That, considering the offseason, is going to help them so much. So, yes, like when I said, this could be it's a potential upset. I'm not actually predicting that the Texans win the game. I think the Chiefs win the game. But I think like the Chiefs are favourites by 9 points. I think that might be quite a high line to ride. I'd be tempted to take the under on that because I'm not sure that they win by 9. It will very much come down to how the defenses play and how well Deshaun Watson can adjust. But this could be fireworks on opening night, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, you mentioned the spread there, the -9, which is, I think, it's the biggest spread of the week 1 matchups, which is a bit mad to me because although the Chiefs did beat the Texans in the AFC divisional round game, the Texans did beat the Chiefs in week 6 last season, so they can do it. So -9 seems almost like a knee-jerk reaction to the Chiefs Super Bowl win. Yes, it is a new look Texans offense.
Hopkins, I think, is the knee-jerk reaction to those 2 factors. I
think I'm with you on this, Sam. Taking the Texans against the spread there, I think is not a bad shout. They could certainly cover it.
Yeah, especially it's the one thing I would say is in terms of betting, this is probably the worst week of the season to be betting on NFL games because even Vegas, who usually are actually quite good at getting their odds. I mean, obviously they make a lot of money of it, so they're very good at it. But even Vegas at this point, especially given COVID, these are educated guesses at the best. After week 1, and you get to see who's playing well, you can get much better educated guesses. I mean, that's all betting is, and setting odds is educated guessing. But at this point, there's so little data to go off of what each team can do. It is just a guess, and something a -9 in the first week of the season, that just screams that screams Texans coming out and winning by 7 at me just because of the thing called Sod's Law.
I think another point we didn't cover there with the Chiefs, Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins both listed as questionable. I don't think it's enough that we're not going to see them suiting up. It's not going to be anything that dramatic, but we might see them be limited in how much they contribute. Obviously, you think with guys like Mecole Hardman sitting around there can kind of fill in for bits of what Tyreek Hill does. But that's something to keep an eye on as well, that if potentially those injuries develop during the game, I think Tyreek Hill is his hamstring. Just something to keep an eye on, because if that goes the wrong way for the Chiefs, that could be enough to potentially swing this. Especially with a fully healthy Texans defense that, although it's shaky in parts, it's still got some pieces that could really make that happen. So I think for me that I'm going to stick with the Chiefs. I expect them to take it. I think the Chiefs. Yeah, they're going to come out. They're sort of planting the flag to say we're going back to back.
Chiefs by 3, I reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say I would take the Chiefs to win, but against the spread, Texans.
Yeah.
If we're talking betting, that is.
We're talking betting, mate.
We're talking betting. All right, so Texans against the spread then. But Thursday night, Texans Chiefs. Can't wait for that game to kick off.
Certainly can't wait.
And then we move on to Sunday. We have a nice little slate of 6 p.m. games. And
so excited for this.
Oh, I cannot wait for Red Zone.
Mate, Scott Hansen,
7 hours of commercial-free football will start
Scotty Hansen.
right now.
Let's get him on the podcast. We need him on here. But first game we should talk about, Dolphins against the Patriots. Now, obviously, Brady no longer in New England. Is this going to be a new era with the addition of Cam Newton, Matt?
Oh, massively. It's a complete turning point on this franchise. And we just spoke about the Chiefs with their player retention. The Patriots, it's the opposite for a number of reasons. With all, 8 players in the end sitting out due to COVID, Brady leaving, Cam Newton coming in, who apparently is a very motivated, healthy Cam Newton of old, and we've seen what that could look like for the league. It's a complete change. It's a change as well, but the way Cam plays is very different to Tom Brady. How much of it he'll be allowed to do, I can't imagine them limiting him too much. I think if you bring in Cam, you know what you're getting and you want to utilise what he can do. But it's a whole new Patriots team for me. It completely changes the way it's looked. Obviously, it's still going to be leaning on the defence. Any number of running backs being shared out, however the team feels like on the night. But it's going to look very different, I think. And it's going to be, I think you're going to maybe look a bit refreshed. Because a lot of things coming out from last season of it's sort of he said, she said now between Brady and the Patriots of a little bit of who had the wrong attitude towards who. And I think it's all renewed, and it's Bill Belichick coming out and saying, I can do it without Brady. We're going again, sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. The big thing that I'm really kind of interested to see in this game is the Patriots running back room. Who kind of comes out on top there. There have been all sorts of issues. At one point, Damian Harris was going to be like the guy. And I believe he's injured now, so he won't necessarily be playing. So will Sonny Michel come out, and he's all over the place. He's honestly, one week he'll go for 200 yards and 1 million touchdowns, and then he won't even suit up the week later because Belichick's decided that he wants to play some other guy out of some undrafted out of some random school. That running back room to me is going to be really interesting to watch. I think you can really look to see Cam Newton have a big game here. I'm talking 50 plus rushing yards, 250 passing yards, over 3 touchdowns combined. So I reckon maybe 1 on the ground and 2 or 3 passing. I think they'll put up a lot of points. And I think this might be a statement to say this could be maybe the best Patriots offense since they went to the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Nice. I think that this could be a really good Patriots offense with Cam at the helm, just because I think that system doesn't necessarily need the best weapons in the world. And when you add in a quarterback like Cam, who is more dynamic than Brady ever was, I think it might just open up all sorts of new opportunities. And you saw it a little bit when Brissett was in the offense, and they kind of worked in some runs a bit more, and that yes, they weren't being quite as complicated as they were with Brady, but they were still just as productive because they schemed so well. Now imagine you've got someone who's more athletic than Brissett, and just, in my opinion, potentially just as good at the line of scrimmage after some coaching and working into the thing as Brady could be. Okay, that might be a bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but Cam Newton is quietly got a very high football IQ, and he can be that good at the line of scrimmage. So I'm really looking forward to see that. From the Dolphins' standpoint, I don't have much to say because I'm actually just sitting back and waiting to see Tua. I feel like I know that Ryan Fitzpatrick's been announced as the starter. Very expected. I really like that because I don't want to see Tua rushed out on the field. I don't want to see him getting beaten around. I want him to sit and learn because I think he's got potentially he could be one of these newer, younger breakout quarterbacks. But until he's on the field, I'm not going to be able to get much of a feel for what this team could be in a few years. So don't have big expectations for them, but I'm happy for them to play badly with Fitzpatrick and just let Tua learn because they're going somewhere, trust the process. And yeah, so I would expect Patriots to win this game. I might even take them with the spread at a -6.5. So I think they could win by a touchdown.
Yep.
But don't panic if you're a Dolphins fan and you guys don't look good, because I think this is a process. It will take a couple years. You will get there. I think Tua's that good.
I think it's a little harsh on the Dolphins. I think they've made some shrewd moves this offseason. They've pretty much overhauled the line. And I think it's not going to be as cut and dry as you're making it sound. And I think we've seen sometimes Fitzmagic on his day, if he wants to, can come out and just turn a game into something ridiculous.
Yeah,
you see it happen. And I think there's opportunity here. And I think as well, the running back room, you've got Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, both coming out and early. They're going to want to stake their claim of, I'm going to be the guy here. And that is very good. You want those two motivated running backs, and I think that just gives them another avenue. I think it'll be.
I don't trust Matt Breida to play well. I just don't. I think it's very. If I've learnt one thing since kind of really getting into the NFL, it's that you can probably put pretty much any running back into a Kyle Shanahan offense, and they're going to be really productive. I wouldn't trust Matt Breida to be good. I think Jordan Howard's probably the better back, and Jordan Howard's not a flashy, exciting back. He'll just hand off, run up the middle, and they'll get yards. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Dolphins can't play well. Like you said, Fitzpatrick can just let loose, and maybe he'll throw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns and have a mad game. But I think I wouldn't expect them to. And I actually, if they came out and looked bad, as long as there are the bright spots in the places you want to see it. So if Fitzmagic doesn't get sacked a lot, but they lose by 20 points, I'd be sat there going, right, okay, the offensive line looks good. Tua's learning. Trust the process. Couple years.
Yeah, I think I agree that I think it is a process for them. I don't think there's any immediate expectations. But I think they've just got guys that know what could be around the corner, and they all want to be a part of that. And I reckon they've probably seen some things from Tua that make them think, oh, we could have a guy here. This could be someone that puts us on its back. And if I'm any of his weapons, I want to become his guy early doors. So when they're speaking to him, like, right, what do you want to take us to the next step? He's like, well, I want Gesicki there, or I want Devontae Parker here. Yeah. That sort of thing, which I think is it's hard to quantify in what that can do for a team and how they perform. But I think they'll give it a competitive game. But I think the Patriots will come out winning it. But I don't think this is going to be a cut and dry blowout. I think there could be a couple moments here where some of the Patriots fans are like, oh God, how far are we fallen? While it settles in. I think they will take it. I think by the second half, people start to be going, oh, we got Cam Newton. Love it.
Are you taking them
early doors?
Are you taking them with the spread?
Yeah, that's the question.
I haven't even thought about the gambling side. What's the spread at?
-6.5.
-6.5. So do you have them winning by a touchdown or more?
Yeah, I think by the end of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe they'll take it by I'd say maybe 10 points.
Yeah.
Scoring a kick.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I was going to say, for me, you never know what Fitzpatrick or Fitzmagic is going to show up on the day. But even if it is a Fitzmagic game, I think former MVP Cam Newton is talented enough to lead that team beyond the Dolphins team as well. So I would take Patriots against the spread, and obviously on the day as well.
Yep.
But we do have other 6 p.m. games on Sunday, and one of them is the Packers at the Vikings. Now, the Vikings are the slight favourites here with 2.5 on the spread. Mm-hmm. But what it comes down to for me is, will this Packers defence be able to stop Dalvin Cook, Sam? What do you reckon?
Dalvin Cook's not the one I'm scared of. I'm scared of Kirk Cousins, primetime Kirk. If he dies, he dies.
If I die, I die.
He has come out and he has made a statement in the media. He's gone, I don't care about COVID. Bold statement, if I do say so myself. But he's come out, and I think Kirk could be fired up for this. And the Vikings at -2.5, I think I'd take that. They've made some nice additions to the defense. They've still got their great safeties. Yeah, they lost Diggs, but I think Jefferson, when he gets into the offense this season, is going to be good. Maybe not for this weekend, but I think this is going to be a good team. And Kirk Cousins, I think, might be one of these guys that's primed to make the jump to be a very good quarterback. I mean, he always puts up numbers, but I think he could be primed to put up a statement. And I think the Packers could be one of the most overrated teams in the league this year.
Wow.
I think they were last year. I think they were one of the worst 13-3 teams I've ever seen. Even going back years, they were kind of imposters. They got lucky in a lot of games, and they just weren't actually that good. So I think the Vikings, last year I think the Vikings were a better team than the Packers. And I think they're a better team than the Packers this year, so I'm taking the Vikings with the spread.
So now, not to disagree with everything you've just said,
But
I'm not really feeling Kirk Cousins. I think for me, I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to become a guy that does it on big stages and really becomes a massively high level quarterback. I think he can comfortably lock down a job and be serviceable and do what this team needs him to do to sort of get them in the thick end of things. But I think if I'm in a playoff game, I don't want to look around and see Kirk Cousins stood there for me. Whereas, I really want to see Aaron Rodgers stood there, and I'm going to go on a limb completely opposite.
Granted, yes.
And say this could very much be an early preview of a playoff game within the NFC. I would not be at all shocked. I think the Packers, they did it last season, and they didn't do it at all flashy, and however we want to word it, of whether they deserved it, didn't, whatever we want to say about them, they did it. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how you did it, how you looked. If you get that record, you're 13-3, and that's how it goes down, and you got to the playoffs. And I wouldn't be shocked if just Aaron Rodgers does it again and can pull this team through, and maybe looks at, because he wasn't incredible by any means last year.
No.
But we know what he can do.
There's a lot of good things coming out of camp as well.
I'm not completely saying and ruling out the Vikings. They are a good team. I think they will win this. But I think this is going to be a really competitive game, and it could potentially be a low-scoring one. I could see this being one of those just competitive, just kind of football games. It's nothing flashy. It's not something where you're going to get a ton of offensive highlights. I could just see this being that early kind of season thing of they're figuring each other out at the start of the game. It's two experienced play callers going up against each other, but the Vikings coming out on top in the end.
Yep.
But the Packers not looking bad in the process, and letting the league know they're still the Packers, and they still did go 13-3 last year.
And you mentioned Aaron Rodgers there. Could we see Jordan Love appear?
Unless they're 20, 30 points clear, and they decide we'll bring him out.
All I'm saying is they draft him round 1.
He will be holding Aaron Rodgers' water and cleaning his jockstrap after the game.
That was a joke question, by the way. I don't seriously
gonna
believe
say,
that he's going to start
I'll politely answer here, but
it will be Aaron Rodgers.
I've read a couple of things that have come out of that camp that say that Jordan Love does not look like a first-round pick. Like, things that have come out of that camp don't sound good, and that's come from like Packers beat reporters and people in and around the team. So like people that like that's getting fed by coaches. So
it's not a good look, is it?
It's a rough deal for old Jordan, but he's going to have to do something special there to ever live up to where he's been drafted into. I feel for the guy.
What spins that for me a little bit is that you've seen Aaron Rodgers come out and a bit sceptical at first, and now he started to play more the sort of toe the line that the Packers would want of, what would I be leaving for the franchise if I didn't mentor the guy and do all this? If Jordan Love looked really good, I don't think Rodgers would be as willing to be like, oh yeah, mate, just do this, do that, you'll have my job by week 4.
Yeah.
But I think the fact he knows, okay, I've still got a few years.
Yeah, this guy's not challenging me anytime soon.
I'm safe.
This might be Rodgers thinking, I know that potentially when I get to the right point in that contract where it's right for them, right for me, I might want to try someone else anyway. He's just seen Brady do it. Maybe he wants to try something different. So maybe he thinks, okay, I will just develop this guy for a few years. So at least when I leave, the fan base doesn't say I left them high and dry sort of thing. Yeah. But that's maybe a bit more long-term. I think, for week 1, Vikings for me.
Vikings for me as well. 100%. So another matchup, which I'm actually pretty excited for, is the Jets at the Bills. It's a week 1 divisional matchup.
Keep it moving.
Now the thing is, you say that, but they played each other week 1 last year, and it was 1-point game. It was 17-16 to the Bills, with a comeback from Buffalo as well.
One that we'll be seeing a lot of on Red Zone potentially if it goes the same way again.
So I want to see Gase get pounded, get sacked. I think it's the best thing for New York, for the Jets, for Sam Darnold, for all the talent they've got there. I want Gase out. He is a terrible coach. He is a terrible coach. He didn't do well in Miami. He's not doing well here. He's running the franchise into the ground and potentially wasting the talent of Sam Darnold.
Wow. So my question was going to be, will it be as close as it was last year, this year? Sam, I guess the answer is going to be a resounding no.
I hope not.
Matt, will we see history repeat itself, or is it going to be Bills come away, win this cleanly? I mean, they are the favourites, 6.5 on the spread.
I think the Bills are going to take this a bit more comfortably. I think they're going to put up some more points than last time. I just think this Jets defense is going to be a bit of a mess for the first few weeks, figuring out they've lost some massive players there. Jamal Adams gone. There's problems for them this year. Yeah. So I think there's going to be a bit of them trying to figure out how are they recovering from that, really, because obviously with no preseason games, they've only seen themselves against their own offense, which I think it'll be a decent offense if Gase doesn't mess it up. Big statement. But they've played obviously against some talented guys on that offense, at least Lev Bell, at least this one. Yeah. But they haven't played properly, and I think when they get out there week one, I think early especially, they could get lit up a little bit here, and it could be a bit hard to watch for a phase. Yeah. I think they will settle into the game, but I think it's one that's going to run away from them before they can really get into it.
Darnold could end up seeing ghosts here against this defense. Yeah. If the line isn't shored up like it really needs to be, they've also... I'm going to bring him up, James. I know it's going to upset you. Brashad Perryman is a genuine piece of this offense, and it's a piece they're missing for this week. They're potentially their best deep threat is going to look like it might be a rookie Denzel Mims. Now,
even
the idea, even he's
at the list. So 6 guys, there's 6 starters.
You've got no one at receiver throwing against what could potentially be the best or second best secondary in the league. No, thank you.
I mean, Gase has already covered it a little bit when he hinted that he might try and use Bell as a receiver. I think that might just be he has to.
Yeah.
Looking at this, there's a lot of guys that could question. We could see them just get beat up here, but. Yeah. I think for me, I've got a weird split, I guess, because I haven't invested with Bell fantasy-wise, so I am going to want to be keeping an eye. But I think if I was a Jets fan, probably wouldn't want to be looking too closely. Yeah. I think the Bills take it comfortably. And I mean, we won't go too fantasy on it as well. We're covering that later in the week, so keep an eye out for that. But Bills heavy. Bills taking this, I think.
I think, spread is unfair, and that's only because it should be higher, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't think last year will repeat itself.
No.
But another spread that is fairly high is in the game where the Colts go to the Jags. The spread is -8, which is second highest this week. I mean, is this really a fair representation? Are the Jags really that bad? What do you reckon, Sam?
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to something earlier. I was listening to a podcast, and they mentioned that the Jags the other day traded away their starting safety, who I'd never even heard of the guy's name, I'll be honest. And they traded him away for a 5th round pick and didn't even get a player back for him. That's their starting safety. They've traded everyone they've drafted for like the last decade away, effectively. They are in full tank for Trevor kind of mode, and I mean, from one perspective, you might kind of like to see this as a Jags fan, because at least it might end this kind of stretch of just mediocrity. Yeah, they had one kind of outlier season where they made the AFC Championship game, but other than that, they've just been a kind of perennial somewhere between 6-10 and 9-7 kind of team. Very mediocre, never drafting high enough really to get the guy they want, but never really in the mix. So maybe this is a good thing for them. Just burn the house down. Again, change what has supposedly been a toxic culture. But I can't see this team being a good team. And I think they're going up against the Colts, who, for me, are one of my kind of dark horse contenders in the AFC. So I think -8 is very realistic. And I'd be taking the Colts here at -8.
I was going to say -8. Should be higher than that, in my opinion. I don't know how high the spread can go, but that seems quite low for what I think the score's going to be.
Wow, you really that low on that Jags defense?
Well, to me, it just seems like a team that's tanking right now, and I don't think you'd want to be taking anything from that team if you're a betting man. And I think the Colts
but I mean,
way too good for them.
There's the garbage time touchdowns and stuff to consider as well. So like -8, I think is quite a reasonable. Normally, I wouldn't like betting on anything more than a touchdown spread. I mean, it's very rare. But the only time I can ever remember betting on stuff that's more than a touchdown was like, do you remember a couple of years ago when the Rams and the Chiefs were both just on a tear for like 4 weeks, and they were putting up 50 points a week, and then they met and there was like that game where it was like 54-53 or something. Like, I was betting on those because like both teams were just outrageous scoring, but any more than 8, and I start to think there's so many things that come into it: garbage touchdowns, kind of sloppy play when a game's already won, that kind of thing.
I think for me here as well, you're seeing the Colts who want to make a statement. I think I want to see what Rivers they're getting. so I'm not necessarily convinced as far as calling them a dark horse, but I think they have a ton of talent there. And I think that is the potential they've got. But I think with the Jags, you're going to see maybe them put up a little bit more of a fight, potentially from this offensive side of the ball. I think Minshew has got almost a target on his back of everything in the media is they're tanking, they're already going to move on. He was quietly decent last year for a rookie, especially where he was drafted. Very unswing for how decent he was on the ground. He's got some wheels. He picked up some yards on the ground as well, which is what I think he might need to do at points in this team. But also, you can't take away DJ Chark and him. There was a bit of a connection for him in there last year. If they can come out, fire on that straight away. They've bought in Tyler Eifert for the 2 minutes he's healthy. That'll be really useful.
Yeah.
But
wow.
In all seriousness, I think Eifert is talented on his day. Yep. So I think they're going to be able to put up a better account than people think. I don't think they've got the firepower to take down the Colts. I think, who knows, we'll see how this offense develops on that front. If Minshew gets on a run, and just in terms of putting up some numbers, I could see them making some games competitive. I still think they're going to be picking towards the fun end of the draft.
Yeah.
But the Colts will take it, but I think the Jags will give a slightly better account of themselves. I think as much as people are saying they're tanking, I think what they're also trying to do is maybe not necessarily a full-on tank with any player in mind. They're more trying to get the players out of mind who have just not fit the culture and kind of clear base, see what they do this year, see what they've got in Minshew, who they might have something that's enough for them to actually run with for a while and use if they do have earlier picks on big defensive players, weapons, O-line guys, stuff around him. So I think I'm not jumping as quickly to say they're tanking for Trevor, this is it done, this is them, they're going to try and go for the 0-16 or whatever. But I haven't got them winning, but I've got them giving it a bit of a fun game. I think this could be quietly a good game on the week to watch.
-8, are you taking it?
No, I think this could be closer than that.
So you take the Jags on the spread then?
I think the Colts will win.
Taking the Jags on the spread.
I could see it being less than a score.
I disagree wholeheartedly, but good time to move it on to the next game. I think there before we argue a bit too much on that one, and that is the Bears at the Lions. Now it's just come out, I believe it was a few days ago, that Trubisky is going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears. But Matt, do you reckon he has enough to beat this improved Lions team?
You know what? I wouldn't be massively shocked if he has one of those games where he's done it a couple times where he's looked actually okay. And obviously he's come in and done enough to Foles, who obviously not quite the money he was on at the Jags, but is still getting paid. I don't know. I think he's going to give a better showing of himself. And I think he must have done something right this training camp, is all I'm thinking. But I think the pieces around this Bears team, he doesn't have to be ridiculous. He doesn't have to come out and light this game on fire. I think David Montgomery could have a nice game here. I think it's getting to the point where he's really got to show it. Because he's getting away. He's a few years from where he's going to want to get paid. So he's got to really have a season where he's got to come out and stake his name and say, look, I'm the guy you want to keep around for this franchise and build it on me. And with the defense they've got there, that defense will keep them in games that maybe at times the offense, some people say, won't deserve to be in, that Trubisky shouldn't even be having a say in. That defense can do that. And this could be a game where they really come out and stake a claim, I think. And I'll take the Bears for this one personally.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. So I would actually take the Lions in this one, just because the Lions at -2.5. So I think this Lions offense could be good. And last year it was very good up until the point Stafford went down. Stafford went down and it fell apart. Like at one point before Stafford went down, I think it was through 8 or 9 games, he was on pace for I think it was over 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns. Like they're MVP numbers in most years. That those kind of, you'd be in that question. And I think with a healthy Matt Stafford, this could project to be a legitimate contender for a wildcard spot. Obviously, if he's not healthy, they'll have other issues. I think their secondary is going to struggle without Slay there. Obviously, you've got Jeff Okudah coming in, who was a high draft pick. But, I mean, corners usually, they're going to expect him to start fast. So I think this will be a very telling game for both offenses, because, I mean, Trubisky's going up against potentially a rookie quarterback guarding his number one, who will be Allen Robinson. So, I mean, if you can't do it against a rookie quarterback who's never played even a preseason game, that doesn't give me hope for you being able to go and do it against a stronger secondary in the Vikings. So that it will be very showing there. I think it'll be very showing from the Detroit side of the ball offensively. I think the one thing we can guarantee is that this Bears defense is going to be mean. So I think the Bears' route to winning this is a very low scoring game. I'm talking 9-3, and it's just the Bears defense just smother them. And I think that's the only way the Bears win this game.
Yeah, can't let past that. The way I see it is I would have the Lions as well to win this one, but I think it'll be maybe 3 points in it. So if that spread at -2.5 is not quite in range for me, so I would be taking the Lions for that as well. You know, it's one of those games. It's one of those coin flip ones that we mentioned many times this season, or this preseason, I should say. So I think it'll be a very tight one, but an exciting one nonetheless. Right, moving it on to the Raiders at the Panthers. So, Matt. Oh, you sound very nervous about what I'm about to ask you here. Will the pressure of Mariota be enough for the quarterback to carry his team to victory? The quarterback being Carr. For some reason, I've written Cam Newton down here. I don't know why. I must have got very confused. But will the pressure of Mariota be enough for Carr to carry his team to victory versus a very new-look Panthers team with Bridgewater at the helm?
Yeah, I think for this game, he's in a great spot to kind of come out and silence a few people early, because this Panthers defense got gutted. They're young. I think if you play this game week 14, maybe not. But I think week 1, a young defense under a new head coach that hasn't had time to get out there during preseason, I'm taking the Raiders all day long in this. I think it could be a higher scoring game, and I think the Panthers aren't going to look bad by any means, but I think it's going to be one of those ones that you look at and say, Bridgewater and CMC needed the defense to step up a little bit here. Because I think the Raiders will come out and I think they're going to look good. I think as much as Sam's going to hate it, I think you might see a big play from Henry Ruggs to let the league know he's here.
Oh, yes.
I think he's going to scorch one and just almost start to build a bit of hype around himself of, oh, he's quick. Like almost that Tyreek Hill sort of thing where he came out and made those first few plays that got everyone saying, okay, this can translate. So I think the Raiders take this. I think maybe Mariota isn't the effect that kind of motivates Carr. I think it's more Carr plays a relatively usual game, keeps it simple, leans on Josh Jacobs, and then when he needs to, gives it to Ruggs, and Ruggs does something that inflates Carr's stats a little bit, burns one for 80 yards sort of thing. But I think the Raiders take this, but the Panthers offense looks good in the process, and we say, give this Panthers team a couple years, and they're going to be looking very good.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with Matt. Pretty much everything he said there. This is going to be this for me is going to be very much a game that will depend on the two defenses. Whichever defense plays better, their team will probably win the game. I think they're offensively either team. They're almost kind of like similar at every position. They've both got very good running backs. OK, McCaffrey is obviously probably the most well-rounded back in the league, but Josh Jacobs is no slouch. They're very strong at running back, both teams. I think they've both got kind of young, playmaking wide receivers. Obviously, Henry Ruggs, I don't think this was the best fit for him, but as Matt said, this is a guy that, fit or not, he is so fast. If he sees a hole on an end around or a short slant pass, he's just that quick that he will be the fastest guy on the field. And yes, he could take a 5-yard slant from his own 10 and he could take it 90 yards to the house. I can see that happening. I think DJ Moore's going to have a great year, but again, he's not got a big kind of push it down the field quarterback. Unless Derek Carr comes out and plays it his like absolute outlier season from a couple years ago, I can't see Derek Carr really pushing the ball down the field. So I really think this is just going to come down to which team can get off the field on third downs the best, and that'll be who wins the game. And I'm probably also taking the Raiders at -3.
Yeah, I think that's
one quick point I'm looking to see as well. Mentioning that Raiders offense is Darren Waller. See what he does, because he looked like he could become a great tight end at points last year. Does he keep that rolling? Where does Witten slide in? Was that just for some experience, or is there some doubts? that's one thing maybe that we'll start to see a trend of here. So I'm more watching for the season, but just intrigued to see as well. Does he kind of keep on the level we've seen?
Yep.
But I think we both agreed Raiders.
Yeah, I think I'll back the Raiders as well. And -3, it's going to be a close game. So it's hard to call, but yeah, I would take the Raiders as well. Right. The next game is a divisional game. The Eagles going into Washington to play the Washington football team. Now, no preseason. So it'll be the first time we see rookies. But how excited, Sam, are you to see Chase Young take the field for the first time?
I must admit, when I was looking at this game, literally just now as you were thinking about it, I was actually thinking the only thing about this game that I'm genuinely quite looking forward to seeing is Chase Young. Just because he has the potential to be one of those, similar to like Myles Garrett was a couple years ago, or Nick Bosa last year. You're getting him a bit more often now. Just an athletic freak, someone who loves the game. He looks like a monster. Some of the stuff come out of that camp. I want to see him on the field competing, and I think the Washington football team, they can't expect much out of this year. I don't think anyone there expects much. It's going to take them a couple of years to get over everything that's kind of happened there. But I mean, realistically, if he comes out and he gets a sack and he's starting to look good, that is what you want to see. Just a couple of things. You want to see flashes from your quarterback. You want to see flashes from your young receivers in Terry McLaurin, stuff like that. So I'm not looking for the Washington team to win this. I don't think they will win it. I don't think they've got the talent there compared to the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a better team. I don't think this is going to be a good game to watch. The Eagles have been kind of stricken with injury, and they're kind of playmakers at receiver. I've got questions over how good Deshaun Jackson is going to be. Obviously coming off of the injury last year. I've got questions about how good Jalen Reagor's going to be straight off the bat, and they might rely on him. Obviously, everyone knows Miles Sanders is going to be very good, but I think this is a team that could really struggle offensively to start with. I think they should still beat the Washington team very, very comfortably, but I don't think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think really you're going to look for Chase Young to be cool and to look good. You're going to look for a couple of other things, maybe Carson Wentz to put some good film on to give the Eagles fans some hope going forward. But this isn't a game that I'd expect people to want to sit down and watch unless you support that team.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. This isn't a grandstand game for the week. This isn't one of those ones that I'm rushing and hoping Red Zone's going to flash up for me. But I think the Eagles take it incredibly comfortably. And potentially to the point, especially with Chase Young, if he's sort of adapting well and getting near Carson Wentz a bit, that they get up enough that Carson Wentz isn't playing by as we get into the latter part of that fourth quarter. He's 100%. They've come out today, said he's good to go, no concerns, because there was a little worry towards the end of camp, but he's all good to go, and I think they protect that. I think they get up early, they run up the score for a little bit.
Yep.
We see flashes from Washington, but I think it's going to be a bit uncoordinated on offense. They've got a young quarterback who, last time we saw Haskins out there, didn't look ready. We'll see if he is now. And they're going to be figuring out what's going on at running back. I think there's going to be a lot of settling in for that running back core that through the season could look good, but for this week, not going to give enough. So I think, the Eagles run this up early, and by the fourth quarter, Carson Wentz is out of there thinking about week 2.
Yep.
Makes sense. So all three of us, because I'd agree with you guys as well, taking the Eagles, but against the spread as well, -6, both agreeing, taking that.
Yeah, I think a touchdown is reasonable to expect.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Right. Hayden Hurst season. Seahawks going to the Falcons. Now, this one's interesting. It's the bookies in Vegas have got this as the closest game. It's the closest spread. The second closest spread in week 1 at -1.5. So it's going to be a very tight game. But who do you fancy to come out on top, Matt?
This feels like I should come out just straight away and jump into the Seahawks. And I think they will edge it. But I think this is a point in the season where you're going to see everything you need from the Falcons with everything healthy. And this is the best chance, I think, of them putting up a good game against what should, in the Seahawks, be a relatively guaranteed playoff team. Barring some kind of crazy shake-up and fall apart from them. I think it's just the Russell Wilson effect. He's good enough to get them there. So I think it's going to be close. I think at points the Falcons are going to have them worried. But I think the Seahawks take this. I think relatively comfortably by the fourth quarter. But I think for the first half, this is going to look competitive.
Yeah.
This, for me, could be the highest scoring game of the week. Because the Falcons could have a very leaky defense. They kind of have over the last couple of years. And Dan Quinn just hasn't been able to fix it, no matter what he's really done. And both teams have got really nice offensive pieces. So if the Seahawks start scoring points and they force Matt Ryan to respond, and he's a guy who can and will respond,
he can,
I could see Matt Ryan putting up big numbers. I could see the Seahawks playing that kind of just high-scoring kind of ground, pound the ball, run into them. Russell Wilson just do Russell Wilson things. And I think this could be the kind of game that is 35 to 27 or something like that, or 28.
Yeah.
So I would look for this to be a high-scoring game, and I would take the Seahawks at -1.5.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Obviously, I did say Hayden Hurst season, but it's not a one-man team, is it? So, yeah.
It's interesting to see if he can fit in and sort of take over from Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
And if Hayden Hurst does look like he can be the guy, just lock down, take that position, and do what they're wanting from him. I think as well, two players I want to really watch is Calvin Ridley and DK Metcalf.
Yep.
Two guys expected to have big years. See who jumps out the gates quickest between them two. Just interesting. Perhaps maybe that's more of a fantasy kind of thing I'm interested in long term.
Yep.
But two guys I'm really looking forward to seeing in week 1.
Look for Gurley to have a big week as well.
Yeah.
Gurley back in home state, playing in Georgia again. This is where he made his name for himself. He's back at home right at the start of the season, so I know it could just flare up, but theoretically it's the freshest he's going to be all year because he hasn't really got any games on it, and they've committed to him. I think he is out and out the best back in that system. He's out and out the lead back, and any meaningful carries will go to him as long as his knees hold up. So I think for week 1 at least, you could expect him to put up maybe, I'm going to say, he goes for over 100 yards.
I think the one that also, with it being the whole, almost the homecoming of Todd Gurley, that him getting a chance to come back and show the league what he can do, I have just a terrible gut feeling that this could turn into almost a nightmare game for him of the injuries coming back. If it just seems like if I was going to put money on a game for it to happen this year, storyline-wise, it just seems like a potentially kind of thing for him. I don't know why. You just get a weird gut feeling on something.
Yeah.
I'm going to be nervous watching him for this just because it seems like it's almost the cruel way things happen.
But I think if he can avoid injury this week, I think he goes big. He gets 15 to 20 carries for over 100 yards and a touchdown.
And
I think it's boom or bust for him in terms of this week of, I think, injury or massive game for me. I think it's going to be one where you see his name in a headline afterwards. I just hope it's for the massive performance.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Never want to see someone injured. Right, moving it to the final 6 p.m. game on Sunday, and it's a game very close to my heart in the fact that the Browns are travelling to Baltimore to play the mighty Ravens. Now, obviously we mentioned before, this is an all-round improved Ravens team. I think we can all agree they improved on both offense and defense. Well, I definitely said that. You guys sort of nodded along. So
I think on the most part, I think it was already a great offense. They didn't really need to improve massively, and it was already a solid defense. But
it's got even better.
Just as good is the biggest thing, if not better.
But the Ravens played the Browns twice last year and lost one of those games. Could you see this happen again, Sam?
I was just about to say, I am locking in a Browns upset victory this week.
So, question here, is that on the spread, which is -8, or is that
I
just
think
win?
the Browns win the game. I'd take money line Browns to win the game.
Wow. What reason?
I think the Browns are coming in. I really like the fact I've just heard very little from Browns camp.
Yeah, true.
Very little from Browns camp. There's nothing. Baker Mayfield's not out running his mouth, which I really like from Baker Mayfield, because I know he's still cocky. I know he's arrogant, but this means he's dialed in. I'm getting a Baker this year who Because he kind of, when he came into the league, it was always, his thing was always like, I've always been the underdog. I've always been the guy with the chip on the shoulder. And then you win a Heisman, you come into the league, you're the first overall pick, you have a great rookie season, and suddenly you're not the underdog anymore. Everyone was talking, you're going to take the team to a Super Bowl, and you don't perform, and you get slaughtered in the media. And everyone says that it's one of the worst sophomore slumps of a quarterback ever, and that you were statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And suddenly he's back down there. He can't run his mouth anymore. He still knows and thinks he's the best. He's got great weapons around him. They've shored up the offensive line. I think you've got Kareem Hunt now for a full season, so you're stacked at running back. Their defense, they get Myles Garrett back, which is massive for that team. They've got a really quietly very good young secondary. This is still the team that is stacked at every single position. The difference is they've now got a coach who I believe is much more competent than the coach they had last year, who I thought he was well out of his depth. Stefanski, I think, knows what he's doing, and I think he could be. I really like their GM and like the kind of moves they've done and the kind of culture they've built there. And the big thing is, it's just nothing's come out of that camp. I haven't heard anything negative. I haven't heard anything overly positive. It's just been quiet, business as usual. And not that I think the Ravens are going to be a bad team, but I think this is just kind of set up to be one of those games where there's so much expectation on the Ravens. No one's got mad high expectations for the Browns, who still project to be a good team. This could be one of those trap games.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned Baker a lot there, and I think whether this game is competitive completely rides on his shoulders. I fully expect Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense to come out where they left off in the regular season last year, and just firing on all cylinders, looking good, feeling good, playing good.
Oof, love that.
Whereas the Browns, I don't know. I've read into it differently with Baker being quiet. I wonder if this is a little bit of he's going to need to play his way back into that confidence, and he's been knocked. And I think you need him to be the guy that is vocal, that is the Baker that we've seen when he's been playing at his best, to pull off a win against what is going to potentially be, I think it is one of the Super Bowl favourites, and a team that I already said it in our preview for them, that if I was picking a team to go 16-0, it's the Ravens, and I'm sticking by that. I've got them taking this game. I think it should be close. I want Baker to come out. I want him to play well. They've got all the weapons there, but it's just if he can't pull it together and he looks like he did last year, I could see him out on the field getting in his own head. Because you said he got slated by the media, and if he throws an early pick, I could see the wheels falling off for him a little bit. Or, on the complete opposite side, he throws an early touchdown, he throws an absolute bomb to Odell or something. Next thing you know, Baker's back, and he's firing, and then this game's competitive. But either way, I'm still going Ravens for me. I'm going to back the Ravens.
This makes me very nervous, this game, because like you said, Sam, the Browns very much, very quiet, and I think on that sense, it's no news is good news for them. Yeah, I don't think hearing nothing is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's maybe a positive thing, and they will be the underdogs here. They have something to prove, and the Ravens are coming in on this massive pedestal, which 16-0 has been flying around, and high hopes of Super Bowl, and you're just going to have this collision where it could easily be an upset, if you like. So I'm a bit nervous. I still think the Ravens will win it, but I wouldn't back it against the spread of -8. That is for this game. So we'll see what happens for sure.
We will.
But yeah, a little bit nervous. Right, so moving on to the 9 o'clock-ish games. I think this one's at 9:05. The Chargers at the Bengals. Now, it's come out that Burrow is now going to be the only rookie quarterback to start this game week. How do you reckon he'll fare, Matt, against that Chargers defense?
It's a tough defense to start against. It's gotten a little bit easier with everything with Derwin James sadly missing out the full year and his injury. But it's still not an easy defense to start your career against. So, tapering expectations for him week 1. I've said it in our preview for them. I think he'll be good on the year, and I think if he can get some momentum going, he's a character that can pull this team above where they should finish. And I think he's got the weapons there that he needs. Joe Mixon, finally, he's been paid, he's happy, he's ready to play. So I think they can put up some numbers. They don't necessarily need Burrow to carry them to a victory here off the bat. I think the Chargers have got enough to take this. I think they will. I don't necessarily know if it will be a massive scoring game, but I think the Chargers take it. But the Bengals give a good account and kind of let people know we're not going to be down in that first pick again. We're on our way back away from it. We're going to start putting up some better numbers, and we'll see where they go.
Too many unknowns for me to make a call on this. I won't spend ages talking about it because I don't actually think there's that much to say at this point. Yeah. Don't know much about what Joe Burrow's going to do because I haven't seen a preseason. I haven't physically watched him myself throw a pass since the national championship. Obviously, I've seen pictures or videos of him from training camp, but we haven't seen him in a game in NFL in live scrimmage. There's a lot of new pieces on kind of both teams, a lot of change. So I don't necessarily know. I think the Chargers probably do win it. I think they're probably the better team, just about, mainly just because they've got Tyrod Taylor, who is a veteran, and he's not a great veteran, but he's solid. He'll get a job done, and I think he will lead them to a victory. But I'm not sure I'd take the line here. I think it's at -3.5, so I think I'd actually take the Bengals to at 3.5, and I think this could be the Chargers to win by a field goal.
Yeah, very close game predicted. I'd definitely agree with that, to be honest with you. But a lot of unknowns, like you say, so it's really hard to call, if I'm honest. Right, another 9 o'clock game then. The Cardinals go into the 49ers, which is another divisional game, which is very exciting this early on. But this is a sort of new look Cardinals offense. You know, we've got Hopkins, we've got Drake, and no David Johnson. And obviously 49ers, we have ranked as our number 1 team, Sam. Do you reckon they can overturn the power of Jimmy G?
I can't see the Cardinals winning the game. I think this is a game that I expect the 49ers to win. I think it should be pretty much like that defense should be just as good as it was last year. Really, what I'm looking for out of this game is I want to see, is Sherman still at the level he was last year?
Yeah.
Because if he is, he's going to be matched up with who is, in my opinion, the best receiver in the NFL in DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
So if he can play well there, this team, and he plays like that all season, maybe you expect that he keeps going like that, and they can keep a lid on DeAndre Hopkins, that will affirm what I think this team will be, which is one of the top dogs for the Super Bowl again this year. If he can't, that worries me a little bit. I think that I still can't see the Cardinals winning this game, but if the Cardinals make it a close affair, I'm going to really start to worry about the 49ers because I think the Cardinals are a good offense, but I don't think they're nearly one of the best offenses. So if the 49ers can't kind of put a lid on Kyler Murray, then how are they going to fare when they come up against the Patrick Mahomeses and the Deshaun Watsons and those guys that are just a little bit better? So that's what I'm looking for out of this game. How well has that 49ers defense stayed where it was this time last year?
I think for me, if I'm the 49ers defense, I'm a little bit nervous because you've got a Kyle Shanahan offense with DeAndre Hopkins now in there that's had time to prep for this. Shanahan could have all kinds of things that he's worked out. And I think we could see a big test of the 49ers defense again this year come in this game. Just off of that fact that we haven't seen a preseason, we've seen nothing, we've only heard little bits of training camp and stuff. And just from the mind of Kyle Shanahan coming out.
Do you mean the head coach, not Shanahan, the head coach of the
Kingsbury.
Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury?
Oh, Kingsbury, sorry. Yeah. So him coming out and having all time to scheme and get ready for this. And just come out and go for
kind of fits that air raid, that deep threat, and that just mad playability that DeAndre Hopkins is the best in the league at. Really does fit that air raid kind of stick 4 or 5 receivers on there and just chuck them downfield and let your talented quarterback make the play. So I agree, and I think that's really what I'm getting at, is the sense of this is a good offense with the Cardinals. They are going to be probably a top half offense. They're going to be a good offense. So I need to see the Niners put up a good showing here to have the confidence for this time next week to say, yeah, they can contain the Chiefs, or yeah, they can contain Baltimore.
Yeah, I think the 49ers will take this game just because the Cardinals' defense isn't there. It's not enough to, I think, put them in the right spot. But this is one of those games, again, if we're talking about this maybe week 1 next year, it's looking a little closer.
Yeah.
I think the Cardinals' offense is going to be huge this year, potentially. I think Kyler Murray is going to really assert himself.
Yeah, they're slowly building something special there down in
But
Arizona,
not enough to get a win in this game.
It'll be
Not enough
interesting
yet.
to see the split between Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Hopkins as well. Because I think Christian Kirk is quietly good enough to be a 1 or a 1B on most teams. So the fact that you've now got 2 legitimate wide receivers and then Larry Fitzgerald in the slot, it will be interesting to see where those targets get to, because DeAndre Hopkins is used to being one of, if not the most targeted, or the second most targeted wide receiver in the league. So he probably isn't going to get that in Arizona, because Kirk's going to demand targets. So is Larry Fitzgerald. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they split that up around those players.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm agreeing with you guys as well, taking the 49ers here. It'd be interesting to see what you think about the spread being -7. Would we still back the 49ers at that point? Or is it slightly flipped? What do you think? Is it going to be that close to scoring, a one-touchdown game?
Difficult.
Yeah, when I was looking at it, I was thinking, I can't really call this.
I will take the Niners there, just because I do think that defensive line is going to be good enough to swallow up the Arizona when they're in the red zone.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that's very fair. Right, Matt, this is one you're going to be absolutely buzzing about. Here he comes. For those listening, Matt is putting on the hat, Buccaneers hat, looking like a #1 draft pick out there.
We're ready.
Looking the part.
Ready for this. Been waiting for this.
Buccaneers going into New Orleans, playing against the Saints. Saints slight favourite, -3.5 on the spread, which, arguable, I think. But a year ago, we would not have thought this would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. The roster completely overturned,
Indeed.
very much a new look.
The Tampa Bay Gronkaneers.
Indeed.
Oh, there you go. I
Indeed.
love that. But being the slight underdogs, Matt, are you hopeful for this game? What do you reckon your team will be able to put out?
This is where the hype train leaves the station on the Bucs season. We're going to come out, we're going to make an early statement, and I'm not even getting over what I genuinely think that we will come out and we're going to take the win here. We're going to take it to the Saints early and let them know that there's been a bit coming out from them, their players on social media. They're not worried, it's their division, all this, and I think we're going to let them know early. We're here. The Bucs are really a contender this year, and it's not a joke. And I think the main reason that is just Brady is going to have this team wanting to run through a wall for him. These young guys on defense, none of them want to be the guy that when they all get back in the change room at the end, knows that I could have done more. And I'm excited. I think we're going to come out, and it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a close game. But I think we're going to contain Kamara. We already did it last year. We were incredible against the run. I think we're going to shut that down. And I just think Tom Brady's going to roll back the clock. And I think we're going to take it.
Not to put brakes on the train, because I do agree.
The train's rolling.
It sounds like the brakes are coming here.
I'm not pulling the emergency stop yet, because I actually do agree. I think the Bucs win this game, and I think they win it quite comfortably.
I did not expect
that.
I think they win it. I've kind of flipped on this in the last couple of weeks, to be honest, as I think about it more. But I don't think they win it because the Bucs are a good team. I think they are a good team, but I don't think the reason they win it is because the Bucs play really well. I think the reason that they win it is because Drew Brees falls off a cliff. I think Drew Brees he's shown it in the last couple of years. Yes, he's really accurate, but his arm is really waning. He doesn't throw the ball deep. I think, as you've already mentioned, you guys didn't have a problem at all last year containing Kamara. That just was not an issue. I don't think Latavius Murray is good enough to be enough of kind of a change of pace guy to make you really think. And on that kind of wide receiver spot, the Saints have got they've got Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. And Emmanuel Sanders is the deep threat. I understand that, and I go, he's going to take the top off, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, actually, when you stop and think about it, you take the top off, but Drew Brees can't throw it 40 yards downfield. He's done it 3 times in 2 years. It's like, I don't have the faith in Drew Brees throwing the ball deep consistently. and I think that might make it easier to scheme, if you're not worried about going over the top, to scheme against Michael Thomas. Now, Michael Thomas will still get targets, he'll still get catches, but I think this could be the year we see Drew Brees take a real step back, and I think it's probably his last year. Wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the season, if you don't see some of the other quarterbacks there get on the field because they're out of contention. Maybe. I mean, I think this is the kind of thing that if this happens,
if it goes wrong,
and I will admit, I've kind of flipped on this in the last couple of weeks. When we originally did our projections and stuff, I think I had them statted out at 12-4 or something. But the more I think about it and the more I kind of look back, I do worry about Drew Brees, and maybe this is the year that the wheels fall off. So, yes, Bucs to win the game. Agree with that, but I think that might be more of a product of the Saints not being as good as we all think they're going to be. I think that's a real danger. Obviously, now I've said that, the Saints are probably going to come out, put up
Drew
40
Brees
points,
light it up.
and Tom Brady will be the one who can't throw it deep. So what do I know?
He's gonna lock them up.
I just can't believe we've all agreed on.
I genuinely thought when I was doing that, partly it was just for the Sam's reaction. I wanted to really wind him up there, and he was like, "Yeah."
What you said
in all
makes a lot of
seriousness
sense.
as well, OJ Howard is a player that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Touchdown
on
upside.
Sunday night. I think this could finally be where people start to say, "Oh, that's what OJ Howard was when they drafted him. That's the guy that came out of Alabama."
Yeah.
So
that's the guy who
I'm
took
excited.
the touchdown to the house in the national championship game. That's the guy who has all
Exactly
of that. It's now or never for him, and he's in the best spot he could be.
if you can't do it with Brady, probably can't
Yeah,
do
I was
it.
say there's no better time for him to show up like that. So, very exciting times, and all of us
so-
agree and take the Bucs, even though they're the underdogs, slight underdogs in this game. So, it's exciting times. Right, the final Sunday night game is the Cowboys going to play the Rams. I believe this might actually be the latest. There's only one game this late in the day, I think it is.
Yep.
So it's 1:20 in the morning.
Very late for us.
So this is one of those prime time games. Now, the thing is, the Cowboys played the Rams last year, and they hammered them 44-21 in Dallas last year. But, Sam, do you think that Sean McVay and the Rams would be able to redeem themselves and beat this talented Cowboys offense?
This is going to be my other lock-up of the week. Going against the spread, I'm going to take the Rams at what they must be +3.
Yeah,
I think that this is going to be, if this is at the Rams, they're in a new stadium. Okay, they won't have fans in the stadium, I don't think. I think it will be empty. They won't have fans, but they're going to be in a brand new stadium. They're going to be fired up. You've kind of they've got some of their players back healthy. I think kind of not having Todd Gurley there might actually be a good thing for them. They can just move past it. It's just one less thing to worry about. I think Cam Akers, I think they've got a decent running back core. Hopefully that offensive line is a bit more shored up. But Jared Goff is a really solid quarterback. If they just play to what he does best, a lot of play action, that kind of thing, get the ball out quickly, which he's really good at, I think they can come out fired up, and I'm not betting against Sean McVay as an offensive mind to beat the brakes off of a Cowboys team that's actually got quite a lot of hype around it and has a bit of a habit of just kind of falling apart when the light shines brightest.
I think it's definitely going to be close. The Rams are going to give a much better account of themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm going to edge the Cowboys and something. I think I'm going to give it to them. I think this game is where the offense comes out. And Dak especially, he keeps seeing quarterbacks get paid, but not him getting those deals. And this is the start of him pretty much forcing Jerry Jones to pull out the checkbook and give him what he wants. And give him the right terms, the right length of deal, and kind of say, look, I'm going to take this team where you want it to go. And I think there's almost too much to stop. I think it could be a relatively high scoring game because it just could almost shades of Chiefs Rams you mentioned from a few years ago. It's just two what could be high powered offenses just going like blow for blow. And I think speaking of breakout tight ends, mentioning OJ Howard, Blake Jarwin I think could come out and let people know it's not talk this year, and he's actually going to say, this is now me. Who's Jason Witten again? It's all about Blake Jarwin and really just kind of set himself up for a season here from the go, coming out hot.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you there, Matt. I'd probably take the Cowboys on the spread as well. But, you know, I'm a big fan of Zeke and I'm a big fan of Dak as well. So I believe they've got the power to overcome the Rams once again. Won't be as high scoring. Won't be as far away, the point difference, as it was last year.
Won't be a blowout, I think.
Won't be a blowout, yeah. That's
I wouldn't be shocked, though, if the Rams do clinch it and win a tight game, like, take it. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm just expecting the Cowboys to, for once, live up to the expectation.
I just really want to
come across as down on the Rams at all.
Yeah, no,
I think it could be very good, and it could be Goff back near his best.
I want to see the Rams back at that high-powered offense because there's something about the Rams that score points that just brought joy every Sunday. Every Sunday I would sit down and I would look forward to watching the Rams because offensively they were so fun to watch. They were doing new, exciting things. The way that Goff plays, I don't know what it is. He just plays with an almost elegant. Like, it looks like he's not that good, but then he pulls plays out of. He's so good out of the play action, and I just want that to
effortless. At points when he's really in the zone, it kind of just looks like he's just out there.
And on the flip side, when he's playing badly, he can play really badly. So it's not by any chance he's not an elite quarterback, but he's the kind of guy that when it meshes with McVay, I think they're the kind of pairing that could be a really good pairing for the next 10 years. And I think the league's better off, and I think that division especially is much better off when they're a good team. So I'm really hoping they come out and look solid.
Yeah, fingers crossed 100%. For a very close game. But moving on to the first of the two Monday night football games. Primetime games here. It's exciting.
Oh.
The first one, which I know, Sam, you have very much an interest in, is the Steelers heading into New York and playing against your Giants.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Big Ben back after an elbow injury, which is obviously Big Ben's a name that you...
Yep, I really look to Big Ben to have a big year this year. I think he's coming back, and they've got all the pieces. They've got a championship defense there, straight up, probably the best defense in the league at this point, in my opinion. So even as a big Giants fan and a big believer in some of the pieces we've got on the offense, I think that Daniel Jones is going to struggle against that defense because they've got two players on that defense that are both legitimately going to contend for Defensive Player of the Year in TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick. So, I mean, when you've got two guys that are both going to be in that conversation out of your 11 starters, then, yep, you're going to be a good defense. And the Giants, offensively, I think we've got some nice pieces. I like Sterling Shepard as kind of a number 2. I think Darius Slayton's got the potential to really make the jump and kind of prove himself as that big, deep threat. But I think this is an over-the-season thing. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to look great against the Steelers because it's such a good defense. So I think if he can come out and just not turn the ball over, even if we lose, I'd actually be quite happy to see that. If I can see that he takes a couple of big hits from some of those big defensive linemen and doesn't fumble the ball, then I'll be really happy with that as well. Because if I can see those kind of fixing of those nagging issues. Like, he had a lot of turnovers last year that were fumbles. He wasn't throwing a shed ton of interceptions. Yeah. It was fumbles where he was giving up the ball. So if I can see a bit of improvement there, I'm happy. Don't expect the Giants to win the game. I'd like to see a bit of kind of life on offense. I think our defense is just going to be bad this year. I mean, we lost.
Can say that again.
Wow. Straight up, I think they're going to be bad. And on the flip side of that, I think the Steelers is going to be quite a good offense. So I'm taking the Steelers at -5.5 here. I think the Steelers win probably by 10 points.
Wow.
I think I was harsh on the Steelers when we did our team previews. And I think still over the course of the season I am. But I think if I'm Big Ben coming back from an injury and I can pick a defense to start against, the Giants are up near the top of my list.
Yeah.
Especially with it just seems like it's been bad news after bad news after bad news for the Giants defense. And I think Big Ben's going to kind of start those rumours of, oh, he's back. I don't think it'll last. But I think he's going to have a good week and it's going to be enough to blow the Giants away. I think we're going to see promising things though from the offense. Like you said, I think Saquon is going to be Saquon. You know what you're going to get there. And I'd like to see Daniel Jones at least show flashes, but I think this is a brutal start, and it's a brutal first stretch of 4 for him. So I think, if he can just get out of this without getting injured or without just fumbling the ball.
The big
making
thing
bad
for
decisions.
me, the big thing for
That's
me
enough.
is to see Daniel Jones in those first 4 games. I don't expect wins necessarily,
You shouldn't.
No.
but as a Giants fan, I want to be able to look back at the games and think the silly things that he would do. I want that he would do last season. I want those to start to be cleared out. Because there were flashes last season where he made very smart plays, and he can make all the throws on the field. I really do
100%.
believe he's got the arm for it, and he's got the ability to make every throw. So I want to see him reading the field well. He did have a bit of a tendency last year to kind of lock on to one guy and not make and not kind of go through his reads. And so I kind of want on those plays where they are running more complex things and he's expected to read 2 sides of the field, I want to see him reading 2 sides of the field. Even if he doesn't get the ball out, even if he takes a sack, I want to see his head go through the progressions and do the things, like those fundamental things that you want to see your quarterbacks. Just the progression. I don't mind if he's taking sacks. I don't mind if the offense isn't putting up loads of points. I want to see that there's the base for him going forward. Because no, we're not a team at the moment that's going to win 10, 12 games. We're probably at best a 6-win team. But if I can see that progression, and I know that in 2 years from now, with a couple of off seasons and a couple of good drafts, put a bit more talent around him, he's a guy you could win a Super Bowl with, then I'm more than happy. And if we can get out of this, and like you said, he's not throwing mad interceptions and he's not fumbling the ball, then as a Giants fan, I've got hope for the future and I'm happy.
Yep.
I think, if I'm a Giants fan, briefly, I'm looking for this to be a game where you see little flashes of what's going to potentially put you in the thick end of things a few years down the line, but almost games you potentially look back on, because you have those games in any young quarterback's career where you start to say, oh no, he could seriously do something here.
And I think he will, because the one thing that I will say for Daniel Jones, which he is one of the best at in the league, and it's perfect coming in, he's kind of taken over from Eli Manning, who I think was maybe the best in history in the NFL, is he has got a set of cojones on him. He does not get rattled. You watch Daniel Jones, he will take a massive hit, he gets straight back up, he rattles his helmet back on, and he's like, right, let's go, next play. And Eli Manning was maybe the best ever to do that, in my opinion. He took some big hits, and he'd be like, get up, yep, fine, let's go. Didn't get rattled, wouldn't be put off by taking a big hit, and Daniel Jones has got that.
Right. To sum it up, I think Steelers by a landslide.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did just to very quickly touch on it. I think very much agree with you guys. Steelers to take it here. Big Ben coming back with a bang. Got a lot to prove. Also, James Conner got something to prove after a down year. Juju as well.
Juju has maybe the most to prove.
A lot to prove, yeah.
Wide receiver 1. And if you can't do it with Big Ben as healthy as he's going to be this season, potentially, against a pretty bad defense, we're blunt with it.
Yep.
Can he do it at all? So,
and also, just to quickly touch on it, very, very excited to perhaps see Chase Claypool. Exciting pick out of the draft. Yeah. So look out for that. But yeah, I think all of us agree. Steelers on the spread. Ooh, yes. Definitely a good shout here.
5.5. And
then moving on to the final game of the week. Monday Night Football, once again. The Titans going in to the Broncos. Now, Vegas has got this as the closest spread of the week at 0.5, so they can't predict who it's going to be. Broncos, slight favourites. They've also got this as the second lowest over-under at 41.5, so they're predicting to be a low-scoring game. But, Matt, do you reckon the Titans can prove that perhaps last year's playoff run wasn't just a fluke and just go here and beat the Broncos?
So I don't have the hat to put on for this one. And I know Sam definitely isn't going to agree once I'm done speaking. But I think, I'll start with all the good things you see on the Broncos side, is that I think they're very unpredictable in the sense that they could come out and be incredible, or they could look like they need a few more weeks to really click, but they've got all the potential in the world there on that offense. But I think this is where the Titans come out, and early doors at least let everyone know it wasn't a fluke. We are here to contend, and we're here to show up. And I think Derrick Henry comes out and says, it's all well and good saying this is what this team is. It's just him running. Stop me.
Yeah.
And I think they come out and just, I think it'll be close. I think the Broncos will put up a good performance, but I'm taking the Titans because I think their defense as well. Now with Jadeveon Clowney, we don't know how much he'll feature week 1. Not to be said about that yet, but I think the Titans come out here and look good. Do they get the job done?
I think the Titans are going to win the game. I think the Titans are going to win the game. I think the Broncos' offense, by the end of the season, is going to be a very good offense. But there's going to be a lot of teething issues with that offense. They're going to take time to work into it. So I'm not looking for the Broncos to be great, really. I think the Broncos are going to have a decent defense. I think in kind of retort to what you were saying, Matt, I think if the Titans are coming out and to make a statement, then this shouldn't be and can't be a close game. They have to win. To make a statement, they have to come out and win comfortably by 10 points. If they come in and win by 5 or 3 or 6 points and it's not a 10-point game, then I don't believe that they're making a statement, because I agree with you.
Okay.
Derrick Henry is going to run down the middle and he's going to say, stop me. And it's going to be very hard for people to stop him. But I believe that's pretty much what this team is. I don't have the faith in Tannehill as a guy who, if you can neutralise Derrick Henry, I don't think Tannehill is good enough to then go and win you games or enough games. So for me to be able to then, this time in a week when we're talking about what happened last week and what's going to happen next week, for me to then be saying, oh, I was wrong, the Titans could be here to contend. I want to see the Titans not come out and win. I want to see them come out and dominate.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is, for me, the slight is that I don't think this is the game where they have to come out and show they can do something different. I think just this game in particular is the one where they can come out and just show we can continue, we can keep running the ball and just almost just keep it rolling. I think down the season, yes, we have to see that game where Tannehill wins the game for them. But I don't think this early on and against this team in the Broncos is when they have to show me that. I just think they come out and say, even when you've had an off season of preparing for it, Derrick Henry's still going to run through you.
Yeah.
In this particular scenario. So I get what you're saying. We have to see that game at some point, if not twice or maybe 3 times, to really take them seriously. But I just don't think it has to be here necessarily to do what needs to be done to kind of put them in a spot where people start to lean on them again and start to say,
yeah, I think my point was more like, this is for me to take them seriously as a proper contender and not what they were last year, which was a wild card team who had a Cinderella run.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think. Yeah. I'm surprised we were closer than I thought on that.
Wow.
Again,
we've had a pretty good run through here, haven't we?
Yeah, something's gone wrong here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've agreed a few times throughout this preview, so it's been a wild one. But
we'll have a fight off screen or something.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
All right.
I was going to say, I don't know.
I instantly regret my decision.
But that is a very nice way to round off our week 1 preview. We'll be looking back next week at the games and perhaps where we were wrong and perhaps where I was right, and see where it all lies. But for now, I think it's time for the head-to-head section.
Here we go.
Let's get it.
Now, we're switching up a little bit this week. We're not sticking to the format we had last week. We're going to do a sort of a pub quiz style question.
Nice.
I've heard pub. I'm interested.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
We'll have a good pub. So I'm going to ask the boys 5 questions, all specifically about week 1 in 2019.
Yeah.
Sticking with the week 1 theme, of course.
Okay.
So, put some hours in today.
Okay.
Got a few hard-hitting questions. We'll run through all 5 and then we'll go through the answers at the end, just because, and I have got a tiebreaker set up as well, just in case.
Okay, brilliant.
That was pretty hard last time.
Yeah.
But okay, so we'll kick it off with question uno, question 1.
Just quickly, is this running that you're going to ask a question and it's just quick for whoever gets
I want you to write it down.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We're going proper
I want you to write it down.
Quiz styled on this.
Yeah, I want you to write it down. Find a pen and paper or a Word document and write it down. And those at home, play along as well. See what you get right.
Sam is rushing for a separate Google Doc. I can't see right now. I can tell.
Yep.
I saw the flare in his eyes of. Wait, what?
But yeah, maybe this is a good time to plug the comment section.
Okay,
let us know what you got for this quiz.
Yeah, yeah. Put all of your answers down below. I mean, they do have the upside. They can probably Google and post all the correct ones. But
we like
come on,
honesty
guys,
on
don't cheat.
We love a bit of honesty, and don't cheat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
question
don't cheat.
1. Hope you're both ready. So,
Okay.
obviously, Melvin Gordon last year threw his fantasy owners into a spin, me being one of them, with his holdout at the start of last season.
Yep.
But how many touchdowns did his replacement running back, Austin Eckler, score in week 1 last year?
Got him.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So how many touchdowns did Austin Eckler score week 1, 2019?
This is definitely going to be wrong now. I was so quick.
I've
I was going
got
to say, that's
Aha.
confidence.
I had my instant gut reaction, but I've gone against it, which is never good.
You never know. You never know. Question
Never
2.
know.
Which quarterback was sacked the most in week 1 last season? Really got to think back. Really think back.
Jesus.
Last season.
Last season, week 1. 2019, week 1. Which quarterback was sacked the most? Really testing your brains here and your knowledge of history as well. Albeit only 1 year,
This is
but
very difficult.
1 year ago on Sunday.
Oh, they played on a Sunday. If only. I could
Well,
find
that
the
it might have been 1 week ago, 1 year ago Thursday, or Monday, but
Right.
near enough Sunday.
Right, I've got a name now.
I've had
Cool.
a swing. I've had a swing at it.
Question 4. Sorry, question 3. We're not going to skip questions here. We'll stick to the format. So, question marks about Todd Gurley's health began to pop up after week 1 in 2019. But how many carries did he have this week versus the Panthers? So, how many carries did Todd Gurley have week 1 in 2019 against the Carolina Panthers? Sam, I hope you're not Googling it there, mate.
No, mate, I've
He's
literally.
just deep in thought. Oh,
Really
actually,
think about it.
Yeah, typing these out, he could be going sneaky on this, couldn't he?
Really
I've
could
got
be.
2 numbers in my head again, but okay, that's one.
Got to go with one.
We're committed. We're in.
Okay. Question 4. Stick on the running back theme.
Yep.
Which running back had the most rushing attempts in week 1, 2019?
2019.
Into the thought there. Both
Week 1,
dead
2019.
silence.
Which running back had the most rushing
I'm just kind of
attempts?
trying to think what teams last year were in week 1 were kind of having those like drawn out slog games.
It's tough.
Who had a lot of carries?
Oh, I actually have.
Which running back had the most rushing attempts? Week 1, 2019. And if you get the number, then I don't know. I'll give you a 5 or something.
I mean, I'll write
Oh,
it down.
well then.
Pressure's on.
Gone out on a little bit of a limb with mine.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Mm.
Right. Can I push
I mean,
you, Sam? Question
I am
5.
good. Yeah.
You ready?
Nice.
Question 5. So, obviously, big Ravens fan here. And the Ravens, in week 1, scored a team record number of points. 2019, week 1. But how many points was this? How many points did they score
Yeah,
week 1, 2019?
I think.
That was rapid. That was rapid.
Yeah, both got one down quick now.
Right. You know what? I really hope it's a tie break because the tie break question is pretty good. Okay. Are we ready for the answers?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get bonus points if I can tell you how many
No.
rushing and how many receiving?
No.
Based on you asking the question, I'm going to say no because you definitely know it.
No, I actually don't. I think I know it, but
Oh, I'm wishing.
I'll
I'd
give
gone
you.
with
I'll
my
give
gut,
you
yeah.
a pound coin or something. I'll find one lurking
Okay.
around. I'll give you that if you get it right. So, how many touchdowns did Austin Eckler score in Week 1, 2019?
I think it was 3, 2. Wait, was it rushing touchdowns or just touchdowns? You said
Touchdowns.
right, because I
as a
think he
total.
scored. I think he scored 3, 2 receiving and 1 rushing.
My gut was saying 3, but I went with 2.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
should
my
have stuck
answer.
with 3. Sam is
Yep.
spot on. 1 rushing, 2 receiving, makes 3 total. So I'll make that 1-0, Sam, I guess.
Yeah, 1-0.
So far. So question 2 was which quarterback was sacked the most in Week 1, 2019? Who was that? What name are we saying here?
I had a swing on Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ooh, that
Matt?
was my first. I swung with Darnold.
Ooh, both incorrect. It was actually Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
Oh, of course.
6 sacks against the Saints.
Oh, the second you say it, yeah.
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 see, I was about to put him, but then because I remembered the first game. I think it was the first game that he ever played in the NFL. They gave up 10 sacks before the half,
Yeah.
which is why he came in, and he still got sacked like 2 or 3 times when he came in. But it was like, I don't know why it just pops into my head, but I was probably Deshaun Watson. But then I thought, nah, can't be. Ryan
But
Fitzpatrick.
it was stick with your gut, you know.
Yeah.
But moving on to question 3. So, How many carries did Todd Gurley have week 1 against the Panthers
Is this
last
which
season?
do closest? If we haven't got it dead on, I'd assume for a point.
No.
Oh.
Spot on. Or within 1. I'll give you that,
Okay.
within 1.
I
Be
went
nice
for
for us.
14, but I'm actually thinking 8 now. I don't know why.
I went 13.
Oh, it was 14. You're both getting a
Oh.
point here. Spot on, Sam. And Matt, that is incredibly close, so you deserve that point.
I'll take the pity point.
2-1 to Sam. As we continue in to
If he
question
pulls this
4.
back now, and it's a
You're gonna
tiebreaker
be
because
fuming.
he almost got one right.
Well, you didn't argue with it when I said you could have it within
to
1.
be fair.
So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know?
To be fair, should have
Right.
thrown a flag, mate.
Question 4. Which running back had the most rushing attempts in week 1, 2019?
I went for Zeke with 21.
I went Derek Henry 24. I went the opposite of Sam, thinking low score, and I went for the team that ran with it.
It was actually Marlon Mack, 25 against the
Really?
Chargers. Yeah.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, no, because I was really excited because I had him in fantasy. Oh,
There we go.
It all comes
There we
Didn't
go.
see that one coming.
So it's
Some
still
question
2-1
back
to
now.
Sam. Heading into our 5th and final question, which was, how many points did the Ravens score in week 1 in 2019?
63?
I went 47. They break the 60s?
Yeah,
No.
it was like, was it 69 or
59.
59? Oh, I
59
originally had
points.
59, but I thought they
59
broke
points.
the 60 mark.
However, Sam,
Ah.
does
Was
not
it
matter.
You take the win.
Yeah,
You still
I
won
do take
2-1,
the
mate.
win.
Great
Because
performance.
what did you guys put up the week later? You put up another massive
Yeah,
week
it was
straight
big.
after that
Yeah.
as well,
I
didn't
can't
you?
remember exactly.
Because
for
it
the life
was
of me, but
what was it? Week 1 was against the Dolphins. You just absolutely
Dolphins, yep.
spanked them, and then week 2 was against.
was the one against was that the Bills year?
No, there's no way you would have put up the Bills. Maybe the Bengals. You would have played the Bengals, and they were rubbish last year. So
Yeah. Right, so it was Dolphins, and then it was. It's gone from me now. No, it was the Bills.
it was the Bills. Wow, God, against
47-3.
that defense.
47-3.
Blimey,
Um,
that is very impressive.
But yeah,
Well done, you guys.
Oh, wait,
you
was
had a
that
good
last year?
year.
that might have been. Ignore that might have been the year before. We beat the Bills at some point, really big. But
The Ravens were a good offense last year.
yeah, I was going
We
to
can
say
round
this
it
is
off with that.
very much on the
Yeah.
on the spot trying to put me here. But we were a good team last year. I think that's what we can say.
Yeah, it's not fun being put on the spot, is it, James?
Hey, Matt, you do it every time with the fantasy quickfire, which I'm buzzing for in our fantasy episode.
Yeah, check
Coming
that
yes,
out.
mate. Later this week.
Saturday morning is the plan. We'll be running through just on the list of league draft. We'll be talking you through setting our first lineup with that. I'll be throwing a quick fire at the lads and a few other little questions, a few other ideas we've got planned for 'em.
Fun,
That's,
fantasy.
that's
All
exciting.
kinds of fun getting us ready for Sunday.
Oh yeah,
course.
baby.
But Sam, you're currently 4-2 after that head-to-head. Good performance, mate.
Forward back.
You are. The fall may be over. You may be clawing it back like Matt
Got to keep
says.
it competitive, you know.
clawing
Not
my
gonna
way
be
back
too
in.
fast.
So this is exciting time. So still time, Sam. Still time. But
Oh, no.
I believe that is all we've got time for on today's episode. It's been a good one. A lot that we talked about today, and we're all buzzing for Thursday night. Tonight, actually, when the episode comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, as always, I'm going to shamelessly plug YouTube. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel at the Brit Iron. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, again at the Brit Iron for those ones. A lot of good content going down on there. But for now, for today's episode, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.